Hello everybody and welcome back, and the party have made it to the gold mine. This is the gold mine map and we are here. There is quite a little bit of backstory as to what has happened. These dwarves and the gnome are in trouble, and I'm sure if you had a better DM they would play the roles of the dwarves and of the gnome with a bit of back and forth questioning. That isn't me, so I will just read from this text. So it says here, before the winter, two gnome brothers, Visarion and Tekarion, prospecting with a dozen dwarven miners, began to mine here for gold. After a while, they broke through into a maze of ancient tunnels, which they explored as far as the abandoned workfaces. All of these are references to these areas here. Soon after, orcs began to raid the miners from inside the mine, and the angered gnomes and dwarves set out to find the attackers' lair. But they found no sign of the orcs, but discovered an ancient chamber containing a strange statue, which they later traded to the Velia elves. We've covered that in the Island of Lost Dreams. And a large natural cavern, which is marked as F, here. The cavern was divided into two by a screen of stalagmite and stalactite bars, and by that I think they just mean the stalactites and stalagmites met each other halfway and merged into one. But the miners shattered these in order to reach a jeweled necklace visible on the far side. Oh dear, the hubris of greed. After the miners returned to their quarters, the orc attacks ceased, and the miners felt safe for a while. Until, that is, dwarves working in the mine began to disappear. One by one, 4 dwarves and the gnome Tekarion have gone missing. The miners have found fragments of web, which will make you feel numb when you touch it, and suspect that the creature responsible is a spider. Right, and there's a little bit here which is not for the party, but is for the DM. So we approach the mine. There's a small band of about 8 dwarves and a gnome who are camped outside this lake here. This is Area A. Area A is called a water dam. A dam directs water over the wooden chutes which are used to extract the gold. Steps lead up to the miners' quarters. Okay, so the dwarves, busy and productive as always, have created a small water system here which washes away all the debris and leaves behind the gold deposits. And these steps here lead up into the dwarven quarters, which is this area here, and eventually into the mines. And of course, they tell us all their problems. When we go up to them, they greet us. They're sorry they can't be more hospitable, but they have really little to offer. They recently got supplies off the Velia elves, and those are nearly done. So unfortunately they tell us that dwarven hospitality is a bit thin on the ground, and they want to know, well, what are we doing here? We tell them that we're looking for some goblins. We're looking for a band of goblins called the Wolf Skull. And the dwarves are indeed able to tell us that Wolf Skull goblins live in the Dimrat forest, almost due south of here, possibly over 100 miles away. And they tell us that if we go back to the lake with the island in the middle, we know this, and if we follow the river south through the forest, then we will come to a clearing, and if we head westward, we will find the Wolf Skull Goblin lair. Now that is good news. That is pretty good directions to where Stephen might be. And of course, they have helped us, so we're kind of obligated to help them. So they have just told us what the problem is, that they have dug too deep and unleashed some kind of terror. Where have we heard that one before? Okay, well, we're up for investigating, and the good thing is that we're told that 1 to 6 dwarves will accompany us. We will take up that offer of help, especially when it comes to having a guide with us. There's no point in us reinventing the wheel, trying to rediscover all these areas that the dwarves already know. I'll see how many dwarves volunteer to come with us, and we'll pick maybe 1 or 2. Well, we don't have an option to pick 2. We've got 1 volunteer. Okay, so we'll have to give him a name. Oh, I can't think of a dwarven name at the minute. Okay, he can be named next time. Anyone in the comments who has a dwarven name to hand, please contribute. One more thing. After we left Bolgar and Uthgard yesterday, which we met around here, it would have taken the guts of a day's travel to get to the gold mine. Our horses are glad of the rest. There's probably a couple of hours before sunset, but we're going indoors and we will have lanterns and torches. So we have a couple of hours to do a quick recce before evening. So our dwarf takes us up the steps and there are some lanterns hanging around. Even though the dwarves do have infravision, I'm sure using infravision all day, every day may become tiring. And we're led into the quarters. Now several dwarves have gone missing, and as has a gnome. So it's quite easy for the dwarves to set aside an area for us to leave our equipment and to take the saddlebags off the horses and relieve them. The beds are a bit small, but if we put a couple of mattresses on the floor, then you can make a bed long enough for our humans. Okay, and it's as we are about to enter into the chamber that the dwarves offer us 800 gold pieces if we manage to clear up this, what they call the black creature. We ask, what do you mean by a black creature? And they say, we've only ever seen glimpses of it. You might catch a sight of a leg here. You might see an eye staring at you out of the darkness. The miners live simply. Their furniture consists only of a table, some chairs, small beds and a locked chest containing the gold. And the DM has been given mention of a necklace, and there are 8 miners. We have some stats here. Should our little dwarven companion end up in combat, he has a crossbow. He's only a level 1 dwarf and a THAC0 of 19. So he can stay at the back, keep Malin company, and he can also hold the lamp if we're not in combat. So he escorts us through these tunnels fairly quickly and we make good headway. He shows us to this area here where there's a lot of picks and carts and shovels lying around, and we're told that this is the last area the dwarves were working on before tragedy struck. And this area is called the Old Tunnels. And then our dwarven escort shows us to this area here, and this area is where they found that small statue, which they then gave to the Velia elves as gratitude for the supplies that the elves gave them. And this is where things begin to go a bit southward for the party, as our little dwarven companion starts to feel a bit anxious about going further in. Naturally, we want to know where the dwarves found these stalactite and stalagmite bars. So our companion shows us into here, and this cavern opens up into a large roof, and we hear a sort of chittering noise, and sure enough, our eyes quickly look up at the ceiling, and there, in a large crack in the ceiling, we see a large black shiny leg disappear. So we're left examining this area where the dwarves broke through and all the bad stuff happened. Our companion doesn't encourage us to go that way. He wants us to explore more of the old tunnels to see where the orc raids came from. So we're going to go back to this room and we're going to decide where to go next. Right, our little dwarven companion is called Belfar. I thought I would be sensible and give him a proper name, and so I went to the Gazetteer for Rockholm, and sure enough they have some guides on naming conventions for dwarves. So I chose R and Belfar. I ought to describe these tunnels a bit better. I haven't done that good a job. Everything marked with a C is considered the old tunnels. However, we're told that the dwarves have only covered this much of it, and then this disaster struck after they opened up this area here. So I might draw a line from here to here to show what is undiscovered. The other thing I didn't mention about the old tunnels is that they are only 4 feet high, which means all our humans and Sylvia have to stoop to go through them, and Donard has to stoop the most. This gives all of them a -1 hit roll, and missiles ranges are limited to 50 feet. There are very few areas, maybe that one. There aren't that many areas which are over 50 feet in a straight line anyway, but that's a further limitation. The dwarves have cleaned up this area, but as we are going to move further into these tunnels, the ones the dwarves have not yet worked on, things become a bit more damp, a bit more creepy, dark. There will be water dripping into pools. We might hear the rocks crack and some loose bits fall off. And there certainly won't be any wall sconces with torches in these areas here. So yes, there's going to be quite a difference between the cleaned up areas of the mine and what we're about to move into, which is very disused and old. Right, so we're here and we are going to go westward to see if we can find the dwarven lair. We have a choice of going due west or south, and let's vote on it, and let's give Belfar a dice as well. And if it's a split decision, we follow his advice. So I'm going to do 1 to 3 west and 4 to 6 south. And that is almost unanimously southward. Who descended? That is Liz and Carrick. That was a really good roll. I wish I was rolling stats in those 6s. Right, so we go southward, and then, well, it's pretty obvious from the light of the lantern, we can only go westward. Aye, says Belfar, 'tis the way of things. Now, we do see these old tunnels are part of an old mine, and there are the remains of mine props, wooden posts, which are still there. And we're walking along here, and lo and behold, the roof collapses, and that post mysteriously falls to the floor. Now, 1 to 3 parties will be caught in this roof collapse. So first is, how many? And that is luckily one of them, who... We have 6 of us, so I'll do 1d6 according to my marching order, which is Donard, Carrick, Malin in the middle, and Sylvia and Liz at the back. And I'll also put Belfar beside Malin so he can be number 4. And that is poor Sylvia gets crushed by some rocks. Right, she takes 1d10 damage. It's Sylvia we're throwing for here. What are the odds it's going to be a 10? Oh, it's an 8. Oh, that's bad enough. But she can make a save versus Dragon's Breath for half damage. And Dragon's Breath for her is a 12 or more. Yeah, so she is nimble enough to dodge out of the way, but she still gets badly hit on the leg for 4 damage. Right, she's down to 13. By the way, we have travelled enough time with no combat for there to be plenty of use of the Staff of Healing and 2 healing spells, so we're starting this adventure with everybody at full health. Well, that didn't last long. Now the thing is, the support beam which fell, as we pick Sylvia up, it's got a rope tied to it, and somebody has pulled on that rope. So we hurry round the corner here to where this rope is leading. The end of the rope is here, and waiting for us round the corner are a number of orcs. And that would be 1d4 plus 2 orcs. It's just 3 of them. Right, okay, we're going to fight these orcs. Will they surprise us on a roll of 1 to 2? It's unlikely we've surprised them. They don't get surprised. I'm just going to run this combat normally. These orcs, they're just level 1 creatures, 5 hit points each, and there are 3 of them. Right, let's roll for initiative. And we get initiative. Poor Donard is stooping over, so Carrick has got the lead on him. It's going to be a bit awkward for Liz and Sylvia to get a shot in. Not only are these tunnels 5 feet wide, but they're only 4 feet tall. So there's no way are they going to be able to shoot over the heads of anybody. Liz is going to keep her bow, Sylvia is going to switch over to melee, and Malin doesn't want to use a sleep spell on merely 3 orcs. It's been most useful when there are about 20 of them. which means we have Donard and Carrick on these two orcs. And I'm going to give Belfar a shot because he is close to the front, just beside Malin. So he will get a -2 Thaco penalty because our guys are in the way. But these orcs have an AC of 6. And Belfar has a Thaco of 19. Oh, no. That's a 1. And I've made a rule that if you throw a 1, there's a good chance you can hit somebody on the back of the head. Right, so if he scores 50% or less, he's hit Donard in the back of the head. Oh, and that is a 69. Right, I'm going to adjust that rule to say that he has hit somebody on the back of the head and it's 50% full damage or half damage. So that is half damage. He's hit Donard in the back of the head for 3 points. Oh, sorry there. Oops. I think that's a better rule going forwards because there's a 1 in 20 chance you will hit somebody on the back of the head. And that goes to 1 in 40 if I have a 50-50 roll. So I think it's best that you do hit somebody in the back of the head and there's a second roll for either full damage or half damage. Okay, I might therefore make it a saving throw versus death ray spells. It doesn't happen often. So again, what would you do if you had to judge if a party member gets hit on the back of the head by their own party and you want to see if it did full damage or half damage? Would you offer a 50-50 roll on the part of the person who shot, or would you offer a saving throw for the person who got hit? Alright, well anyway, all that aside, Donard's got a crossbow bolt sticking out of the back of his helmet. No, actually he's bent over. That went right into his butt. Okay, so all that said and done, it's his turn. Right, his Thaco was 14, so he easily hits and he easily manages to crush one of these orcs. Carrick, who of course takes no penalties, charges forward and again easily dispatches the other one. There's one orc left. I'll do a roll to see who it is fighting. Well, it's undecided. Right, it goes for Donard. That's his dice and that is lowest. So this orc is gonna, with a normal sword, attack Donard. And it misses. Okay. All of that was, believe it or not, round number 1. So we're on round number 2. And the orc gets initiative. Will it run? What does its morale hold up as? And it does run. It's much faster than us and it got initiative. I think it's going to get away. So we've killed 2 orcs and the last one ran. These tunnels are loaded with orcs. There's quite a large number and some of them will pop up sporadically as patrols, but the majority of them will be in their own lair. Right, this is where we are. Sylvia's been hit by a rockfall, Donard's been hit in the butt by a crossbow bolt, and we've got 2 dead orcs. What next? Well, the orc that ran away ran this way, and we come to another junction. There's no trace of him. Carrick is using his infravision to look this way. Belfar shutters the lantern and stares this way. We don't see anything, and these tunnels have become more dishevelled as we get on. There's clearly been several small rockfalls as these tunnels were swept clean. We can definitely tell that there's more rubble under feet, and there's the rusty remains of pickaxe heads and even the decayed remains of a cart, just a few planks, a couple of wheels and a rusty axle. So again, we'll have another vote on west or south, same numbers as before. 1 to 3 west. It is for southward. People who wanted to go west were Donard and Malin. So we shutter the lantern, and again, stooping forward, apart from our two dwarves, we come to another junction. It doesn't take long to look down here and see this ends in a dead end. So we're gonna go forward this way. It's getting into the evening. I think we're going to decide to leave these tunnels very soon, but we might as well see what's here. So the party go along here, and lo and behold, there's another rockfall, and 3 members of the party get hit. Okay. Who gets hit? I'm going to roll a dice, and the 3 who roll lowest get hit by the rockfall. And that's Carrick, Donard, and Malin. Okay. Carrick's damage is 5. His saving throw versus Dragon's Breath, he fails that, so he takes 5 damage under this rockfall. He's done a 26. Donard, that's 8, and his saving throw is a 6. That's bad, he's down to 22. And our mage, that's 7 points off him. And that's 11. I think he failed that saving throw. Yep, badly his. So that's 7 points off him. Right, the ceiling has collapsed, the rocks have fallen in, and 3 of us are under the debris, and the one who's buried under the most debris is Malin, and we're going to have to spend a couple of minutes picking the rocks off him. Right, and there he is lying there. He's going to need some healing. And that's good. That's 6 points, he's up to 8 points. Donard is going to heal himself. He's up to 25. The staff of healing is with the horses, and the horses are outside. Okay, I think we've seen enough for the day. We check to see if there are any support beams that have been pulled away again with rope. There haven't been any. There's a tunnel to the south, and we see a couple of rock falls here and here. I think we're going to go all the way back. I'm going to roll for wandering monsters. That's a roll of 1 or 2, and if there are any, we're going to come across another orc patrol. And there isn't any. Right, that was nearly a 2. As we turn to go, Liz, who is at the back, gasps. A giant bulbous shape with 2 hind legs skitters down a side tunnel, but the thing is, it was on the ceiling. Belfar goes, "Aye, that's the black creature. She'll bide her time. That she will." So, with that bit of unnerving information, we continue. So we make it safely back to the dwarven tunnels, and then back into the dwarven settlement. And here our party members can stand upright and stretch their backs. Okay, that's day 1 of the gold mine, and we'll see how they get on next time. So I'll see you then.